Hi, and welcome back to The Keys Ingredients, where today we're going to talk about my favorite superfood, eggs. These have come from a local farm, and I can't wait for you to see what's inside. So, pasture-raised eggs that come from hens that are allowed to live outside and forage for their food are far more nutritious than any other kind. These eggs, when going up against USDA, even organic eggs, they win hands down. It turns out they have more vitamin A, more vitamin E, more omega-3 fatty acids, and more beta-carotene. They're lower in saturated fat. And if you're concerned about cholesterol, don't be. Eggs do contain cholesterol, but eating these kind of eggs will not increase your blood's cholesterol levels. For more information on cholesterol, check out episode 6 or visit our website. Here at the Keys House, we love to entertain. Being that I'm from Canada, we get a lot of overnight guests, which means I get to make breakfast in the morning. I tend to insist that everyone gather all together to eat breakfast. It's kind of hard to do when you're serving eggs. I've come up with a few excellent tips on how to do just that. So let's get cracking. Remember I told you I'd promised that I'd show you what was inside? Here it is. Here is my farm fresh egg. Look at all that beta carotene. And here is a USDA organic egg. I'm just going to set this one aside. I'm going to choose to use this one. I'm going to start by making my formula for eggs for a crowd. So I've already got one egg in there. Crack the rest here. Like I was saying, one of my favorite things to do with our guests is to have everyone sit down all at the same time. This formula actually goes into our oven and bakes all 12 eggs at the same time so we can all sit down together. Sometimes yolks break, no big deal. I'm going to go ahead and crack all of the eggs into my muffin tin, which works out great. A dozen eggs and a dozen little spots for my dozen eggs. There we go, all 12 eggs in. So because we're living in Texas, we are going to put a Southwest spin on these 6 and combine my 2 favorite things, the egg and the tomato caprese, on this side. Basically, you can put any ingredients into this. Be creative. That's the best thing about cooking is there are no rules. We're going to start with 1 little bit of cream in each one. You can use teaspoon or tablespoon. The purpose of the cream is to make the eggs fluffy and creamy. If you are not doing dairy, you can definitely add an almond milk or coconut milk to do the same thing to the eggs. Just cover. I did not mention that I actually used butter to grease this silicone pan before getting started. Definitely want to do that or you'll be in a little bit of a sticky situation. Once all of the cream is in, I'm going to go ahead and make these 6 Southwest style. I'm going to add just about a teaspoon of black beans to each one of these. I never did black beans and eggs until I moved to Texas, and to be quite honest, now I can't stop. I chose to use a little bit of pico de gallo, which if you're not familiar is tomatoes and onions and jalapenos. A local grocery store actually puts green onion in there, so I picked up on that. And of course, for this Southwest style side, I'm going to use a little bit of jalapeno cheese. This will keep our little egg cups kind of all together. I love to top my dishes, of course, with lots of fresh herbs. Cilantro seems to fit this one, so that's what I'm going to do. I just use a little bit, and then I use fresh on it when it comes out of the oven as well. So that side is all set with Southwest style. Moving on to this side, we're going to use lovely plump tomatoes, about a teaspoon, either way. As you can see, this does not take very long at all, and you could be up early, and I get up early before everybody else and sneak into my kitchen and try and be quiet. It's hard for me to do, but I try. We are using just a couple pieces here of I use fresh mozzarella. Buffalo mozzarella is the best. Surprisingly enough, you can actually make mozzarella. It's really not that hard. Done it once or twice. Add my mozzarella. The only thing missing out of these now would be the basil, which tops the tomato caprese. That's the fresh herb that I'll use here. A little bit on each one, and I'm going to reserve a little bit to put on top after they come out of the oven. So there we go, quick and easy, half Southwest, half Italian style. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop these in my oven at 350 and bake them for about 10 to 12 minutes. I guess you can gauge that as to how you like your eggs cooked. Today, my top 3 are oil, salt, and toxins. Number 1, oil. There are so many different kinds, and just like us, they're all different. Some are better for cooking, some are better used raw, some have a lower smoke point than others, kind of like my Sicilian relatives. The best oil to cook with, by far, is coconut oil. If you're going to fry a food, this is the oil to use. It can tolerate much higher heat and does not change molecularly. It got blackballed during the anti-fat movement, mostly because it contains saturated fat. Crazy thing is, coconut oil is not stored as fat, but metabolized in the liver and converted into energy. It is a medium-chain fatty acid which promotes healthy brain function. It has favorable effects on cholesterol and boosts your thyroid function and your immune system. Coconut oil has antimicrobial and antibacterial properties. It is also a source of lauric acid, which is also found in breast milk. It's to ward off infection. Butter is another saturated fat, awesome to cook with, if derived from a healthy cow. Butter can burn quickly, so I mix a little bit of olive oil or coconut oil to make sure that it doesn't burn. Olive oil, by far, is the tastiest oil. It's great for salads and to marinate vegetables in. It oxidizes quickly though, so you want to keep your heat really low and avoid burning that as well. Hydrogenated oils may be less expensive, but in the end, cost you in compromised health, so be sure to avoid those. Number 2, salt. Despite the fact that most are trying to cut back on salt, it is essential. Just like there are choices in other ingredients, there are choices in salt. Refined salt is the most common. The problem is it's processed and refined. Anti-caking agents, which are chemicals, are added to the salt. This is toxic to your body, especially your nervous system. These chemicals are what raise your blood pressure, not the sodium chloride. Sea salts are from the ocean, and our oceans are, well, contaminated to say the least. So those two end up being refined. A pure salt, like Himalayan salt, comes right out of the Himalayan mountains. It has 84 elements, minerals and trace minerals that help promote a healthy balance to the body's chemistry. This is always my first recommendation to anyone who wants to make a change. Change your salt. It's an easy one, and the only difference is your food tastes better. Number 3, toxins. They are everywhere. Just like I mentioned, they're in your oils and in your salts. Toxins can be ingested, like in food dyes, additives, and preservatives. They can be inhaled, like with air pollution, and they can be absorbed by your body's largest organ, the skin. We want to limit the toxins coming in and eliminate any toxins already in the body. When toxins enter the body, they are filtered in the liver. The liver has several functions. Eliminating toxins is one. Metabolizing fat is another one. So because eliminating the toxins is such a priority, the more you bring in, the harder your liver has to work, leaving less time to metabolize that fat, which means the fat has to wait. It waits very patiently and often stubbornly in the midsection and in the caboose, if you know what I mean. So decrease your toxic load and let your liver do its job. Remember, if you're trying to slim down, you've got to eat fat to lose fat. Healthy fat, that is. And remember to drink plenty of water to flush all those toxins out. Another way to feed a crowd is to make an omelet, or a half a dozen omelets, because that's just what Italians do, make a lot of food. I'm not just making any omelet, I'm making my dad's special wagon wheel omelet. It's a sure way to get all the eggs to disappear. I'm going to start with adding butter, which of course is from grass-fed cows, healthy cows. I'm going to add approximately tablespoon of butter into my frying pan, and can you hear that sizzling? So I'm going to immediately combat that. I don't want the butter to burn. Put a little bit of coconut oil in there. You want butter and olive oil at a medium heat. There we go. All that healthy fat, all that wholesome goodness. I tend to take a little bit of my Himalayan salt and just sprinkle it on the bottom of the omelet as well. I'm going to add my onions first. There's that lovely sizzling sound that always makes me feel like I'm being applauded in my kitchen. Always makes me feel good. Here's a trick. You want to saute these onions a little bit longer than the other vegetables till they're at least translucent. Every time I order an omelet in a restaurant, I feel like I'm disappointed because the onions go in, or the vegetables actually, a lot of the times go in raw, and I need them just a little bit sauteed. So just as my onions are sizzling away, smelling so good, I'm going to go ahead and add my red peppers. And you guys can be creative. Doesn't need to be red peppers. It can be yellow. It can be green. Your choice. Whatever you like. I just like to have all the colors of the rainbow in here. Add in my red peppers and then kale. Nice dark green vegetable. Just started putting kale on omelets just recently and so good. So good. You can chop it as fine or as thick as you like. These dark leafy vegetables are just amazing for us, so nutrient dense, and this 4-egg omelet that I'm about to crack out would probably keep you going for a good 3 to 4 hours. I'm good for about an hour and a half. No, I'm just kidding. Once you have all the vegetables, you want them not to be too soft, for sure not too soft. But you do want them to be cooked, especially the kale. It can be pretty bitter if it's raw. You can use baby kale or spinach or all of the above. You want to just space out all the vegetables you have, all the ingredients you have, in your frying pan. We're going to go ahead and add our eggs. Look at those yolks, how dark they are. Beautiful. Papa Charlie's secret is to put a splash of water, so no milk, just a little bit of water. Beat up your eggs. So orange. All that beta carotene, vitamin A, vitamin E. I put a little bit of Himalayan salt in there and then just crack some fresh pepper. There we go. I'm going to pour my eggs in here. There we go. You want to gently turn the pan all around like this. We'll start to cook on the ends. Make sure your spatula comes in. You just want to knock that down a little bit all the way around. The secret here is definitely the healthy fat. Do not want this to stick. It will interfere with my flipping capabilities. Once you've knocked it down, you just want to gently turn it up and go all the way around again. Just want to use all this kind of liquidy egg on top, even if you have to kick that back a bit and let it go underneath. There we go. You want the bottom to be firm enough to be able to flip. You can kind of peek at it, see when it gets that nice golden brown tone, then it will be ready to flip. One way to make sure your omelet will not stick is if you just lift the pan gently and shake it back and forth. If it moves like this in your pan, it won't stick. If you can tell there's a place where it's sticking, you might want to get under there with your spatula and just loosen it up, so be ready to flip. Okay, so here's the flip. You take a plate that is approximately the same size as your frying pan. My dad always told me not to flip over the stove, but today I'm going to have to. Cover the frying pan with your plate. Try not to burn yourself. Here goes. And you gently slide that back in the frying pan. Oh, the applause. I'm going to give this plate a quick rinse. And there was just enough butter and coconut oil in there to make sure it didn't stick. Here's the wagon wheel part. You take a cheese, today I'm using Asiago, and you take strips of it. We're going to drop it arrange it like so. And there it is. Papa's famous wagon wheel omelet. This is a sure way to gather all the grandchildren at once and keep them at the table, all together. However, as soon as you run out of omelet, kids are gone. Last but not least, I couldn't possibly sign off without teaching you how to make the perfect fried egg. Perfect as far as I'm concerned. I use a cast iron frying pan, and I use olive oil and butter combined, probably about a teaspoon of each. Don't want that butter to burn. Crack your egg on top. And if you're making one egg, you might as well go ahead and make two. Nice thick shells on these farm-raised eggs. Oops. I'm going to add a little bit of the Himalayan salt. A little bit of fresh pepper. And you can do these any way you like. You can actually add a little bit of water to the pan, put a frying pan lid on top to steam to make them over easy. Or you could actually flip them over easy, either way. Or you can have them just like that, sunny side up. Well, here it is, and we can all sit down together. Eggs for a crowd, served on sprouted grain English muffins, the wagon wheel omelet, and the perfect fried egg, served with asparagus spears for dipping. Join us next time when we make decadent chocolate cupcakes. Thanks for tuning in. These formulas and many others can be found on the website. You can subscribe to My Daily Dish. You can like us on Facebook, pin us on Pinterest, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll be the first to know when the next video is released. Until then, keep reading your labels. It's how to take your pantry from where it is to better, one step at a time. And that, my friends, is La Bella Verita.